Okay, so I'm starting to record. I hope I'm doing this right. I mean, it's my first time, which is why, like, you all just message me afterwards and remind me, and it's going to be a little prize, but I'll give you some kind of prize at the end for helping me figure this stuff out. So the thing we're making tonight is called spinach tomato pasta toss. And the reason we're doing this is because what I'm going to do is mute everybody else, and maybe that'll make it that I'm the big thing on my screen. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so spinach tomato pasta toss, it's totally easy to make, and it's relatively healthy, it's affordable, it's all the things, and my kids like it, so that's what we're doing. So I'm starting out, I've got a big pot, and when you make this, it doesn't have to be a fancy pot, it just has to have a lid that fits it pretty well. So, hey Karen, thanks for joining. So I've got, this is one that's 60% off for our host this month, that's why I thought I'd show that one. So I'm gonna start warming that up a little bit, like I've got it on 6, I've got an electric stove, so I've got it on number 6 there. And I've already taken the skin off my onions, so if you're cooking along with me, you wanna cut off the top and the bottom of your onion. And then you're just gonna make a line down one side, and then you can usually just pull the skin off. And I don't usually worry about, there's usually a good thick layer that comes off with that, and I don't usually really worry about that. I'll let it go. And you're gonna chop your onion in whatever way you can chop an onion. So I'm gonna show you this because it's something I find helpful when I'm doing lots of onions. It's called a manual food processor. And it's got a little bit of a non-stick or like a non-skid base on the bottom. And it's just 3 pieces. So we've got the bowl, which also can be for storing. And then the blade goes right in. And I'm putting in the chunks of onion. So I'm going to start chopping it. And you just want to get it into pretty uniform sized pieces, however you're chopping your onion. Okay, so I'm going to show you how this looks. It chops it really well. So if this is something you would use, it's worth it. If it's something that would sit in the pantry and never be used, send your money somewhere else. Okay, so I'm happy with the chop of my onion. When you're happy with the chop of your onion, you want to feel your pan a little bit and just see, like, you want to be able to feel the heat of your pan a few inches above it. If you can feel the heat like way up here, it's too hot. And if you have to touch the pan, it's not warm enough yet. So if you can feel it right around here, you're in the right place. So I'm gonna use a little bit of oil, about a tablespoon's worth. Hey Tammy, welcome. That was maybe
Hi, Meredith.
This is a little bit more. Hi, Mom. It was maybe a little more than a tablespoon, but roughly a tablespoon. And then we're going to add in the onion. And I tried really hard to get out all the things I needed to do the cooking. And all we're going to do with the onion at this point is just cook it until it's soft. Oh, you know what? I was going to show you the most exciting thing in the whole catalog. I can do that while this is cooking. So just stir it around a little bit so it's all covered with a little bit of oil. And as long as it's on medium or medium high, you're in a good place. So the most exciting thing in the whole catalog is the wine bottle opener. So let me show you.
That is a very good product, Meredith.
It is. So this is Mom's favorite too. The foil cutter is also the base for it. So I'm going to use the foil cutter to take the foil off the top. So that comes right off. And then I pull the wine bottle with one hand and with the other, just do a little gentle pressure. And out it comes. So to take it out, you just reverse. So if you're a wine drinker, or if you're shopping for someone who is a wine drinker, that's a really good choice. So I'm just gonna pour myself a little bit of wine here. And this is a Pampered Chef product too. If you like to drink wine outside a lot, here you go. It's a tumbler, comes with a lid. I also use these when we're camping because you can drink wine at night and you can, what else can you do? You can drink coffee in the morning from the same thing. I'm gonna unmute you guys if you want to. Just if you have a bunch of background noise, you can mute yourself. Okay, so after the onion is starting to soften, we're gonna take our garlic. So does anyone know, is this a clove of garlic or is it a head of garlic?
It's a head of garlic.
It's a head of garlic, that's right. So the little pieces inside are the cloves of garlic. And one of my girlfriends did not realize that when she first got married. And she was doing a recipe that called for 6 cloves of garlic. And she did 6 heads of garlic to make garlic bread. Can you imagine how that was? So if you need a garlic press, the Pampered Chef one works really well. You leave the skin on, no big deal, and just squeeze it on in, and it pops out. If you don't have a garlic press, you can just take the skin off right now. You can do that by like popping it on with your knife like Rachel Ray does, or you can peel it. And then you'll want to mince it up. I know a lot of people get the garlic that's pre-minced and you keep it in the fridge. And I always say that you're worth good tasting garlic. So get yourself a garlic press. One of the reasons we eat garlic is because it's healthy. There's so many antioxidants in it and anti-carcinogens in it. So as soon as you press it, it starts losing those things. So the stuff that's in the jar isn't as good for you and it doesn't taste as good. And this is only like $18, so you're worth it. That's what I always come down to. You're worth fresh garlic. So garlic will really quickly burn. That's why I always put my onions in first, because you want something to kind of like act as a pillow or a cushion all around them. So that's what's happening here. And as soon as you can smell your garlic cooking, that means it's time to move on to the next thing. So mine is starting to smell in a good way. So the next thing I'm gonna do is take about a cup of water. I've got a little more than a cup of water. And I'm going to pour that in with it. So if you're cooking along with me, get a cup to a cup and a half of water and go ahead and pour that in. And then the next thing you're gonna wanna do is get your can of tomatoes. And I have mine here. If they're pre-seasoned, that's great, like the Italian seasonings. If they're not, you can just add a tablespoon or so of Italian seasonings. So I am looking for my can opener. My husband isn't here to help me. So I'm taking my can opener. Again, if you need a new can opener, the Pampered Chef can opener works really well. Works a little differently from other brands. It takes off the whole top so you don't get a jagged edge. So then there's these little teeth that bite it open. So I'm going to pour that in. And if you have another can of tomatoes, you can put in like about half of another can. I'm going to show you another tool. I know some people have been expressing interest in it this week. Now my mom, who's on here, wanted a bagel slicer because she's like, my parents are so healthy, but they're in their 70s and like they're not going to the hospital to get sick during COVID-19, right? So she thought that she should get something to slice the bagel with so she didn't hurt her hands. So what you could do is put a bagel in here and safely slice it. But what we're gonna do is tomatoes, little cherry tomatoes, which I find in the winter time are the tastiest tomatoes you can get. It seems like the vegetable scientists have figured that out better than the other ones. So, applying just a little gentle pressure here. I'm taking my bread knife, so any long knife you have, and slicing through. You end up with just like, I'm a really messy cook. You just end up with perfectly sliced tomatoes there. So I'm gonna do one more round of those, and we're gonna use this again on chicken. And it's kind of like a money saving and calorie saving tip for chicken as well. Okay. And when you're doing, like if you think this thing is interesting, we call it a closing cut, you can buy it as part of a set. It comes with a knife that works really well. But if you already have a knife that works, that's long enough that would work well, you can buy it by itself too. Okay, so that's going in. And the next thing we're going to put in is about 2 cups of pasta. I have a little more than 2 cups. This is not a very exact recipe and it's fine. So what we're gonna do is stir all of that around. So we've got our onions and garlic, canned tomatoes, fresh tomatoes maybe as well, and some water. And as I'm looking at mine, I'm gonna show you how it looks. It looks to me like it's gonna need a little bit more liquid because the pasta is just gonna go ahead and absorb the liquid in here. So I wanna give it a little bit more because it's making its own sauce along the way. So we're gonna go ahead and let this start to boil so you can pop it up to high if you're cooking along with me and maybe you're cooking along later. And I apologize, I think probably if you are cooking along with me that you see this huge black screen, but a little screen with me in it, and this is my first one, which is why I'm bribing you guys with a little prize, because you're helping me figure things out. So you just have to remember to private message me, or like hold on to my face and shake me and say, Mare, I was there. I want my prize, and don't feel bad about it, because I always say, like, I don't care if it's a mosquito bite. If I can earn it or win it, I want it, you know, so I get it. And I have so many prizes. I like to share them with people who help me. And that's what you're doing. Okay, so we're also gonna put in a little salt right now because my tomatoes did not have salt added. Thanks. I like salt is really what it comes down to. It tastes really good. I'm adding some salt. And if you need to have some salt and pepper grinders added to your life, these are really nice ones. I find like that they're a good present for men. I think men are so hard to shop for. And sometimes it's like, oh, maybe a salt and pepper grinder would work for them. So once your pot is boiling, we're gonna go ahead and put the lid on it. We're gonna turn the heat down to about 5 or 6 and put the lid on it. Usually when you cook pasta, you drain it at the end and then you add a sauce. But what we're doing is creating our own sauce here as we go. So the next thing we're gonna do is go on to the optional piece here, which is some grilled meat on the side. And I'm gonna do boneless, skinless chicken breasts because I think that's like the most normal meat that we all eat usually, right? Is boneless, skinless chicken breasts. So I've got our grill pan. This is not currently available. It will be in a few months. I'm sorry, like some things just aren't available because we're very fortunate as a business right now. The supply, I mean, the demand has gone up so much since people have been stuck at home cooking. Everyone's like, oh, I better learn how to cook better now that I'm stuck at home all the time. So this will be back soon. Okay. So we're gonna let that start heating up. And I'm going to take these, I still haven't tasted my wine. I like it. I'll show you what it is. It's like $7 at Whole Foods. And I like dry white wine. So if you like dry white wine, maybe you would like that too. Okay. So I used to work for Weight Watchers, and I think probably like lots of people, hey Diane, we're so happy you're here. You know, I spend a lot of time thinking about food. It's my job. So I know that people eat to a full plate. So there's a few different ways to do that. You can fill up a plate with food, right? You could use a smaller plate. I think a lot of us know that's a good idea to start with a smaller plate. Another thing you can do is take the same amount of food and just make it a little bit smaller. So starting with a boneless, skinless chicken breast, I take the ugly side. And I'm gonna put that down, and I'm gonna tilt this a little so you can see what my knife is gonna do. You do need a nice sharp knife, and of course, if you need sharp knives, I recommend ours. I'm gonna take long slices here to open this up. And this is a butterfly technique. And it's just taken that same amount of food and opened it up so it'll take up a bigger plate now, right? Or you can take up 2 plates with that. Another way to do that, if you're like, haha, great idea, Meredith, not happening, you can use the close and cut as well to do the same thing. So in goes the chicken, and I'm pressing down, it's spring loaded, and just using a sawing motion there. There you go. This one ended up like with the tender side. Okay, so that's 2 different ways that you can make your chicken go a little farther. So I'm gonna use just a little bit of seasoning on that. I'll just do salt and pepper. Pampered Chef has all kinds of seasonings. Sometimes my hosts end up, they're like, oh, I always have price products I don't really even know what to do with. And I'll always recommend like, well, get the seasonings at least. Like, I can't stand leaving free stuff and half price stuff unused. So like, let's at least do a $5 bottle of seasonings at half off. But sometimes salt and pepper is just the best. And after I touch it with my meaty hands, I always just take a little, like a Clorox wipe to it. Remember when it was impossible to get Clorox wipes like 6 months ago? Okay, so same thing is about to happen with the grill pan as we did with this pot. So I can feel the heat here. I can't feel it here. I don't need to touch the pan to feel it. So I'm gonna take my chicken and put it down onto the pan. And these come in a double size and this is the single size. Cool thing about these are the handles come off. So I know that means you can put it in the oven and you're not gonna like accidentally forget and burn the heck out of your hand. Or if you don't have a pot rack to hang things from, they can nest inside the drawers. So we've got that going there. And that's just gonna take about 3 or 4 minutes on each side. I'm in South Carolina. I know there's a few other people in South Carolina too. And there are like always weather reasons why we don't want to cook outside, no matter where you live. We lived in Minnesota last year and it was like, I'm not standing outside because it's -30, right? But in South Carolina, it's like, it's so hot, I can't function. There's no way I'm starting a fire outside. So there's always a good reason to grill inside. And it might just be like, I just really want to have one grilled chicken breast and you're not going to go outside to grill it. So if that's the kind of person you are, think about this. Like I said, it'll be back in like a few months. If you want to host a party and get one of those in a few months, I'd be happy to help you with that. So let's see. I'm going to show you just a few more things. We're nearing the end. I'm going to give a stir over here to our pasta. It's coming along really well. And I practiced this today because I hadn't made it in a few years, but I thought this was just a really nice recipe to be able to teach people because it's pretty healthy and it's so affordable and it's easy to make. Like, and you don't actually need anything special to make it, you know, because most of us have a pot with a lid and some knives. But I am going to show you a few specialty things here. This is called an herb mill. And if you use a lot of fresh herbs, this is something to look at. There's a few pieces to it. This is a ceramic ball. I'll show you why you need that. It comes apart, which I think it's always important to know how things are cleaned, because if it's hard to clean, we're not getting it. We all know that, right? We don't get things that are hard to clean. So it comes apart and I just put it in the dishwasher. And if something is really hard to get out of it, I make my husband do it. So taking some fresh herbs, I'm always surprised by how affordable fresh herbs are too. When we were still living in Virginia, I had a nice garden that I absolutely loved. I could grow basil like crazy. This year we're in an apartment and we're very lucky we have a nice shaded porch, but since it's shaded and screened in, it's not great for growing any veggies on, so oh well. If we're still here next summer, I think I'll probably put some pots out front and do a little gardening that way. So I'm just filling this up with herbs. And this is basil, and fresh basil just smells so good. And the ball is down here. And then I'm gonna pop that on. This is a cover. So the ceramic ball is in there to press down the herbs. And it comes out in like this really nice chiffonade that I'm not nearly talented enough to do on my own. You have to shake it some. If that would have made you, don't get it. But if you feel like you would use it, it works really well. So it's just a really nice cut. So I'll end up stirring that in over here in just a bit. So I'm going to try and unmute people and see if anybody has any questions to ask me, or if there's any products you want to see. I honestly own almost everything in the whole catalog. So if anyone wants to see anything, I'll try and grab it.
Hey, Meredith.
Hey, Robin.
Is the pot you're using, is that the wok?
It is. It is.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Robin, it's 60% off for hosts this month. And it's honestly, it's not a cheap pot. So it's something where we want to gather like $200 worth of orders.
Gotcha.
To get it 60% off.
Okay.
I mean,
Nice.
I know some people can just buy it outright, but I know that you like a good deal just like I do. So
You know I can't buy it outright.
no, I can't spend $250 on a pot. It's like,
Nope,
that's,
me either.
I
But it
got
looks
it.
nice.
So the chicken, let me show you how the chicken is looking. You can start to see the grill lines are coming up. And something I've noticed about chicken, it doesn't matter how non-stick a pan is. If the chicken is not ready to move, it's not gonna move. So that chicken was ready to move, so it didn't stick. Oh, I need to grate some cheese too. And I'm gonna teach you all a little trick. I think a lot of people know that if you put cheese in the freezer, it's a little easier to grate. But what a lot of people don't know is if you put in the microwave, it's also easier to grate. And I learned that at a Pampered Chef party. Like somebody taught me that. So I'm putting it in for 10 seconds. Start. So this month, people can start with, if you want to be a Pampered Chef lady for a little bit, you can start for $20.21. Get it? 2021. You can start for $20.21. Okay. So this is just, the cheese is now just barely warm on the sides. It was 10 seconds. This is called a veggie strip maker, but I use it a lot more on cheese. And I mean, it's just like a plastic cheese grater. It cuts on both sides. It's hard to hurt yourself, so you can let your kids use it. And you could do zucchini noodles, carrot noodles, that kind of stuff. And you can let your kids use it as well. You feel pretty good about that. So you can see that putting it in the microwave makes the cheese super easy to grate. So since we had this already today, this is what we all had for lunch because I wanted to practice making it. Make sure it was just as easy as I remembered it being. We have, I don't want to say elderly neighbors, but I guess they're technically elderly neighbors. And they don't have kids, they don't have grandkids, so we've all kind of adopted each other. So I'm gonna bring this meal to them tomorrow. And that's gonna be their surprise. And now I'm slicing in some Parmesan as well. This is honestly, it's all just about done. So you can see I've been talking and trying to teach as I go along, and we're just under 30 minutes right now. So if you were doing this, like you could do this after soccer practice or, you know, whatever it is that keeps you busy during the day. This is a doable recipe. So I'm taking the lid off the pasta. And you want it to be mostly done at this point. I mean, at the point where So it needs to cook a teeny bit more. I'm gonna take a cup of milk or cream or a combination. I'm turning the heat way down and pouring that in. Now, since I'm sharing this with my neighbors, I did mostly cream because the higher the fat, the better it's gonna taste. So I'm stirring that in, and we have half and half and cream and heavy cream and that stuff left over from the holidays. But if you just have skim milk, go for it. If you just have evaporated milk, that'll be fine too. So now I have the heat down to number 1. I'm gonna take this cheese that I just grated, and I'm going to sprinkle all of that in. So it's about a cup. If you have pre-grated cheese, that's totally fine. I'm gonna take the tongs and stir it all in. Whoops, that was a mess. And just stir that all around. Next, I will take the basil and stir that in. Oh, guys, I really hope you all make this because I really think you'll like it. I'm going to show you how it looks at this point. It looks like a soup, but when I put the lid on and let it continue to absorb, it's gonna turn into a sauce. So that's all that's gonna happen there. I do wanna show you the chicken, and I'll be able to stick around for some questions. So I'm just taking a glass bowl. We have bowls that come in a set of 3 glass bowls. I'm just taking one of these little chicken pieces, and I'm gonna show you our salad choppers, which are certainly one of my top sellers. For a while, they were my #1 seller. So it just chops right through the chicken. I know Diane, who's one of our hostesses, got a pair and she loves them. We use them just all the time. So they just go right through. And that, yeah, so I'm gonna stir that in and then deliver that to our neighbors tomorrow, and I think they're gonna be super happy about that. So that's what I have, and really that's our cooking demo. What I'll do is share this video and I'll share the directions, the instructions, and the shopping list for this so everybody can do it. And then if you want to cook along with me, you can just watch the video and do it that way. So does anyone want to ask any questions, make any comments?
I just want to remind everybody why we should all keep garlic in our kitchens.
Why?
And that is because it keeps the vampires out.
That's right, Mom.
Yes,
You have to be safe from Dracula.
yes. So,
Perfect. Thank you. So everybody, thank you so much. Please message me right away and send me your address. Don't be shy about it. Just send me your address. Say, Mayor, I'd love to have my little prize, okay? And I would love to send that to you. So thank you so much for helping me with this. And I'll be sure to get you all the recipe as well when you send me that message, okay?
Thank you, Meredith.
good show. Good
Bye.
show, Meredith. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's so good to see everyone's faces. Bye-bye.
Hey, Meredith.
Bye.
Oh, yeah. Who's talking?
Jody.
Hey, Jody.
Hey, how much are the salad choppers?
I think they're 37.
Diane.
So worth it, Jody. They're my favorite.
I saw those.
Are they about
That's so cool.
37? Does that sound right to you, Diane?
Yeah, because Meredith Repick asked the other day, and I was like, I know it sounds, because I was like, because I'm Walmart, like, cheaper. Those are the best things I've ever. I love them. They're so
I
great.
love them. I've had them for 9 years, and they still work really, really well. But they do have a lifetime guarantee, so if something ever happened.
And tell them about how it's like the plastic underneath, so you don't
Yeah.
scrape.
So you can use them in your pans because you see that? It's plastic on the bottom, so you won't scrape up your pans
Okay.
either. Yeah. Do you want to see anything else while you're here? I honestly have almost everything. I even have a daughter. I know you do too, Jody. You have kids also.
I have a
I
dog.
do. I have two kids. I have a daughter and a son.
I remember your pics. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there's your baby. Which baby is that?
That's the Yorkie Poo.
Hi.
He had a haircut yesterday. Isn't he handsome?
Yeah, he looks a lot more
Aw.
like a Yorkie with his haircut too.
He's Yorkie here,
Yeah.
Poodle here,
That's how he
and then
is.
Yorkie here. They had, before you go, they had an all-out breakdown. It's raining out here,
Yeah.
and one of them had to go, so they both went, and they're like, wow, they came in and they were nuts. I had to come in, like, I don't know if anybody sees my screen right now, but that was funny.
I didn't see it.
I saw the dogs.
I was laughing so hard I couldn't even get it together.
I wish I'd seen it.
It was like that blooper reel, because you know when they come in they're wet and they're just nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
That's awesome.
Hey, I haven't really seen you face to face, like live like this. I love you. You're funny.
Oh, thank you. I love you too. You're funny also. I'm going to hit stop recording.
Oh, yeah.